Welcome to the quest for the Green Bowl, the Rise of R'luh Azath. Today we're with league newcomer. As last week, we also had a league newcomer in AR's ayahuasca plant as a late ad, despite him dropping his game of the week match against the Stellar Bitches. Stellar Bitches couldn't join for availability, but this week we get the elite Mother Tuckers. They did win their game of the week, and they did so in a big way for their first career league win. What's going on? How you feeling after getting one of the best scores of the week, by the way, the second best score, and getting that first win under your belt? How you feeling?
It's something I look forward to doing looking forward to doing all the time. I take my fantasy football very seriously, so it can ruin my weekend or make my weekend, and this week it made it. So
yeah, I hear you.
So it was good.
I hear you on that. And, obviously on your opponent's side, Lamar Jackson was going off. I know you had Mark Andrews too, but were you getting a little worried before Tyreek Hill did his fourth quarter magic for you? I mean, it was a pretty close score at that point. So
yeah, I was actually in two different leagues. I was going up against Lamar Jackson, so I was on the ropes a little bit for both of them. But I was just thinking to myself, that's I couldn't imagine scoring 50 points and not being able to come out with a win. So I've been on, it was just sweating it out a little bit, but then Tyreek Hill just turned it on. I was watching the Dolphins game for the last touchdown, and it kind of went smooth sailing from there. So
yeah, definitely. Actually, yeah, my fiance is the Siamese Dream Cat, so feeling that hurt with Lamar Jackson dropping 50 and not picking up the win.
It helps when Jalen Hurts actually does some good things too. So that was all right.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, you weren't necessarily clinched going into Monday. I mean, odds are you were going to win because touchdowns wouldn't have mattered; it would have been yards. But Hurts got you 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 total. So I mean, you got to feel pretty good about that. What can you say about Hurts? I feel like he's kind of picking up this year where he left off last year with fantasy.
I believe, I picked him for a reason. I picked him because he's that running quarterback. I like having the possibility of having a quarterback that's going to score a couple of touchdowns. Lamar would have probably been my first pick, obviously, because he is like the running back of quarterbacks. But
yeah,
with A.J. Brown and everything like that, his weapons were just too good not to pass him up on. So I feel pretty confident having him as the quarterback.
Yeah, I was looking at him too, and I went with Kyler Murray. But
I'm sorry to see that.
Yeah, no. I mean, he at least is getting me 20 points, so I'm happy with that. But it's the way it goes sometimes, and you never know the way these guys will end up. Especially,
that's the beauty of fantasy football, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could be up big, and then all of a sudden, Adam Thielen catches a garbage point touch, and then you lose by a point. So it just happens that way sometimes.
Yeah, Murray's actually been a garbage time master for me so far, so I'm fine with that. If he's going to struggle for 3 quarters and then get me some garbage time, it's still points.
My favorite kind of points, the garbage points.
Oh yeah. Well, congrats on this win. Obviously, it's a nice one for you to move to 1-1. It's always fun to get the first one, especially in this league, pretty competitive league. I'm sure at this point, it's hard to pick up wins in this league. And now you can try to get the second one against a team that actually won a title when they were a rookie, and that's risky business. So that should be interesting for you.
Well, I'm really hoping to come out on top this week. I think I was projecting to win, but like you said, everything's a toss-up. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you got to put it on the field. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. So to continue this week, I did want to talk about some overall player rankings because I just saw some updated rankings from the consensus experts. After 2 weeks, they're jumbling their rankings. They get real jumpy when things happen and they try to project for the rest of the season. So I wanted to play a little game with you of, whether we can trust these rankings. So let's get to it. It's time to break down the numbers. Okay, so we're going to start here. I'm going to go through 3 players that actually caught my eye on the rankings. I'll mention some of the other rankings too as we're talking, but I don't know if you've ever seen the British show Red Dwarf. It's kind of an old sci-fi show that's been on since the 80s all the way until now, still going. But
Okay.
there's a couple of sayings in there that I want to reference just because it's fun to do. So if you think that a player's ranking is where you think it should be, you can tell me to smoke a kipper and you'll be back for breakfast, and tell me why that you think it's that. And if it's a bad ranking, you think it's not where it should be, you can say, what a smeg head, which is
I
actually,
would
yeah, that's
I think
Red
I still
Dwarf
remember
swear word
those.
right there.
Oh,
So I'm going to
wait.
start actually with your running back,
Oh, shoot.
Austin Eckler, because I know you had some words for him on text
Mhm.
recently. But the rankings have him now at number 10. He dropped a little from where he was in the preseason. Ahead of him, you have Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Delvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, and Saquon Barkley. And behind him, you have Derrick Henry, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Joe Mixon, and Javonte Williams. So you think Eckler should be in that top 10 conversation at this point?
Uh, at this point, probably not. I can't remember what you said. this
Smoke me a kipper and I'll be back for breakfast if it's good, or what a smeghead if it's bad.
I mean, he's been a bit of a smeghead for sure. These first couple of weeks, no touchdowns. I don't think. I think that he has potential to be in that top 10.
Yeah.
That's why he was ranked, I think, the second or third running back right after Jonathan Taylor,
Yeah.
who is, I think, the consensus number 1 this year. But I have faith that he'll pick it up a little bit. I'd like to see him put up top 10 numbers for sure, though.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for anybody who picked up Hunter Henry. Or not Hunter Henry. I'm sorry,
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. It's been
Yeah.
a long day. Yeah.
Yeah, he's struggled for sure based on where you think he should be. It's
Mhm.
yeah, as you talk about Eckler, 75 rushing yards only so far through 2 games, 97 receiving yards, and no touchdowns. So obviously that's not what you want to see from a guy that's picked that high in fantasy.
Had we been in a PPR, I'd be rolling. So that's all right though.
Yeah, you do have to think that he's got Herbert, he's in a decent offense that he'll come around.
Oh yeah.
So it's like one of those things where he's been quite the smeghead, but I think saying he's going to be top 10 is not necessarily off. So, maybe smoke a kipper and we'll be back for breakfast.
Perhaps. Not yet, though. Not yet.
Yeah,
though.
not yet. In terms of these rankings, I would definitely say what a smeghead. Next, I go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, otherwise known as the Sun God. The multiple scoregasms have this wide receiver. He has moved way up the rankings. He's now 23rd after his great start, a great start. Tyreek Hill's just 1 spot ahead. Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, Elvin Kamara, Najee Harris, James Conner, and Mark Andrews are also ahead, along with the other players we mentioned before. Behind is Deebo Samuel, Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Travis Kelce. So what are your thoughts on St. Brown? Do you think that people are maybe being a little overzealous with this ranking at this point?
I mean, it's hard to dispute the productivity that he's had. I think it's a bit of a smeghead move. He'll come back down to earth here in the next couple of weeks for sure. I mean, I don't think anybody projected him having. I think it was 2 touchdowns last week. So he lit it up. I wish his brother for the Bears would light it up a little bit more. But he's going to come back to earth a little bit. That offense does have a lot of good weapons on it, and I think they've been focusing more on them. But having a week like he did, he'll definitely be the focus of some defenses.
Yeah, I can see it there. I mean, 180 yards and 3 scores so far. He's also got 68 rushing yards, so they've used him on some end arounds and things like that. But whenever you see 3 touchdowns this early, I always definitely take, unless they're like going to put up Randy Moss 20 touchdown, 25 touchdown numbers, those touchdowns tend to not happen every week. So I agree with you. I think that I feel like throwing him up that high with Jared Goff as his quarterback on the Lions, it's a little
Yeah,
and they do have Swift too, who's going to run the ball. So I agree. I would say that's also a Smeg head rating.
for sure.
I guess a little kind of a theme so far with these rankings, and I feel like the experts do this all the time just to get us talking.
Well, they need people to pick up free agents that aren't usually out there. But in a 12-man league, we're all scraping the bottom of the barrel with the free agents. So.
Exactly. Lastly, I want to pull up another one that I think is a very controversial ranking, in my opinion, because they put tight end Kyle Pitts at 29th. He's on the defending champion, remember the Titans right now, actually, who picked him pretty early thinking he was getting a top tight end. This was a huge surprise to me because people behind Mike Evans, AJ Dillon, Pittman, Josh Allen, who even though he's a quarterback, I put him ahead, David Montgomery, Scary Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Michael Thomas, George Kittle, who I would put ahead, Keenan Allen and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all below Pitts. He's definitely, in my opinion, been a massive disappointment. Only 38 yards on 4 catches. What are your thoughts on this ranking?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he should put up some decent numbers eventually. I think this is one of those toss-ups there because he could light it up again. He could turn it on. Yeah. But to be fair, I think I have the best tight end in the league, personally with Andrews. So, but where did you say he was, 29th or 30th?
29th, I have him ranked, yeah. Overall, that's...
I think he might be properly rated right now because have a kipper and go to breakfast. I'll see you tomorrow. Because I could, if I had the couple seconds to think about it, I'm sure that I easily could put 10 to 15 players in front of him right now. I think it's a proper rating for right now. I think that he will pick it up a little bit, but I don't see him being better than maybe a top 25, honestly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I look at it. He's been disappointing, and we know tight ends aren't exactly super deep. So odds are he'll end up catching tight ends and being one of the top, in my opinion. In terms of overall, it's just hard for me to put him ahead of some of the guys they have him ahead. I mean, for one, rookie Drake London, he's getting a bunch of targets now. So he's not necessarily stealing the targets like they thought that he might, with no Ridley, but I don't know. I agree that it could be kind of a toss-up. I personally would call it a Smeghead one, but we'll go with your kipper and smoke for breakfast because he could be good. I agree.
He has a lot of potential. There's some weapons, but there's not like a ton. So he should be able to pick it up a little bit. I think maybe he will drop, but I'm trying to think. As far as maybe I'm thinking from the wrong perspective of like tight ends because he is one of the better tight ends.
He is, yeah.
And so, I could be persuaded to go the Smeghead route as well. So,
yeah, we'll stick with the kipper because that was your stick with your gut. That's what we say in fantasy, right?
Yeah. Hey, my gut was that everybody was saying. ESPN, NFL Network, they were all, when I was doing, I went to the ESPN thing and no mention of Kyle Pitts as a top tight end, as the top tight end. There's always that toss up between Kelsey and Andrews. So if you got one of those two, you're going to be set. You're at tight end.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would say those are the only two that you can play every week with confidence, knowing they're going to get a lot.
Absolutely.
And maybe Pitts will get there at some point because he is got a lot of potential. But
sure.
I mean, most of us are just like hoping for touchdowns.
Yeah, just give me one. Give me one a week out of my tight end and maybe 30, 40 yards, and we'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. And streaming for matchups. That's where I am. But that's just because I chose other things. Everybody's got one weakness on their team at least. So it's in these deep leagues, Yeah,
it's definitely hard when you. Especially because you go so long in the snake draft with that. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was fun, man. I hope you enjoyed talking here, joining me.
Absolutely.
You'll get
I try
another
to be
shot
as
too.
knowledgeable as possible with everything, and you make a fair point with that Smeghead for the Kyle Pitts one. Um, it's also been a long day too, so
Yeah,
I deal with. I'm in a public school now, so
yeah. Oh,
it's
I
a little
hear you.
rougher than the Catholic school kids are. So
Yeah,
if I feel like if I'm like my mind's all over the place, that's why.
yeah. No, but it's all good. I like that. I like the candid of these game of the week things. So that's why. That's
Yeah, but
why.
I think this is really cool what you're doing.
And that was the Elite Mother Tuckers. Congrats once again on the first win in the league. Good luck this week. That's the content for the week. I hope you all enjoyed it. Get ready for new videos on Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday next week as we continue this journey that we're on. Until next time, salut. And before you go, check out the updated Game of the Week schedule and results.